Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of Vegan Proteins, Muscles by Brussels Radio. My name is Danny.
And I'm 𝐃𝐿𝐴.
And this is episode
115.
Hey, everybody. Thanks for tuning in to another episode. I have been really, truly looking forward to recording with Kate because I know that she's a champion athlete and we had the pleasure of connecting. And then she sent over her bio and I was absolutely floored. I'm sitting here scrambling, trying to look at different pages on the internet I don't even know how to begin this conversation, but I'm going to start with your bio if that's okay with you, Kate.
Yeah, that's fine by me.
So you've been vegan for 9 years and you're stepping away from world records and triathlon world championships, using your sport as a way to highlight the urgent need to transition to being plant-based and more sustainable, right? So your 3,000-mile cycle on your bamboo bike, which is pretty cool, to local communities, you're reaching non-vegans with climate positive activities. And obviously, well, hopefully leading by example, this climate cycle will be influential. And you've done a lot of cool things in your life. And I hope that you get to touch upon some of the cool things that you've done, the travels, the businesses that you've set up, all the adversities that you've overcome to be who you are today. And you just keep on going. So I feel like, hey, let's just get right into it. And I'm thoroughly looking forward to this conversation. Today, I want to talk all about what you do when you find people discouraging or when you encounter discouraging scenarios or what have you. So can you speak a little more to your past or just something that or what your thoughts are when you encounter discouraging situations?
Yeah, to be honest, it does fluctuate. So some days I'm this amazing powerhouse that can deal with any adversity, and whatever you say, it's like Teflon, it just rolls off my back. But other days it does feel like you've found my soft center and you've stuck it for a minute and squeezed. So, and then I do need a bit of downtime as well. So there isn't one formula. It's just giving me the space to turn up authentically how I am. But it's different. So in the past, when I was training for triathlon, I was a nobody. I'd just come out of quite a toxic relationship and was running a business in Australia. So when I started running and putting myself out there as this wannabe world champion, people just thought I was a bit of a joke. So there was no pressure. Nowadays, with what I've accomplished in 3 world records and having been world champion for my age group as well, I feel there's a little bit more expectation to deliver and be better. So the tolerance for making mistakes feels a lot thinner where I am today. But maybe that's just my own imagination. I think answering your question, how I deal with when people are discouraging, be that what I eat, what I do, how I talk, my lifestyle generally. If I was going to put my Zen hat on in an ideal world, I would reflect and realize that they are just opening up their view of the world. This is how they see life. This is the fears that they are projecting onto me. This is the concerns that they would have if they had to choose what I was doing, if they had to do what they were doing. So it is great for me to better understand why they aren't taking action, maybe why they aren't changing their behaviors, because they've just shown me with their negativity, if you want, why they haven't done it in themselves. So that's this sort of the Zen objectivity, but I am still a human being and it still hurts sometimes, especially if they're close and great friends or even family that do that to me.
Good answer. Solid. We should just end the podcast right here.
Thank you. Goodbye.
Oh, gosh. Are there any specific memories that come to mind for you when you were caught up in the moment and maybe reacted poorly or didn't know how to respond?
Yeah. One most recently. So I've got a thing about people of authority. I was brought up in an era where, as a woman in particular, don't talk. I was brought up by my parents to look for a rich husband, and I'm not married and I'm self-sufficient. So the epic fail on their side for their projections onto me already. So I do have an issue with authority in that I give people of influence a heavier weighting. So 2 years ago when I was training for my world records, so I did furthest distance on a static bike in 1, 12 and 24 hours, obviously on a plant-based diet and at the age of 42. So again, challenging that norm of what we can do with our bodies. And my cycle coach, 2 weeks before my world records, it felt blindsided me with, I think you need blood tests and start eating meat because you're going to fail. Now, I've been vegan up to that point for over 7 years. My numbers, my stats, my training was on point. Touch wood, I hadn't even had an injury. So there was no reason at all why he should say that. But in that moment, it rocked my world, because he was coming from a side of challenge where I thought we were in a zone of support. And honestly, my reaction was to just shut up. Like, I think we fight. What do we do? Fight, freeze, and there's another one, flight. Fight, flight, or freeze. Sorry, I'm just getting confused in my words. I froze. And 24 hours later, that's when the fury emerged. And I just took it out on my body. So I'm very lucky that I just jumped on the bike and smashed out a really hard session to just scream and just go, why am I still getting questions? You know, why are these very simple questions still being brought to me? And why should I have to know my research? You know, 20 years ago when I ate everything and I was struggling with injuries and I was a bit anemic and my skin was poor and I had eczema and asthma, nobody questioned what I ate. But now when I'm at peak performance, you choose to do that purely because I'm vegan. So yeah, there was a bit of a rant in me, as you can hear. But yeah, I just pulled up some scientific journals. It wasn't opinion, and I just replied and went, I think you need to upskill your information. But my reaction was definitely within the fury, and I got my sport to outlet that. So that's the honesty and how I respond. Internally, it's an entire mess, but externally, I do my best to sort of keep a level head, because I'm not going to win change. I'm not going to incentivize people by being angry towards them, even though I wish I could.
Yeah, sometimes I want to just punch a pillow or just scream until I have no more voice. And it's like, it's not going to change. Everything takes time to process.
100%. And there is, unfortunately, there are biased scientific journals out there being funded by, as we know, organizations that benefit from the results. And us as lowly consumers don't know that. So when we read a report saying meat is good for our muscle recovery, of course we're going to believe it, because it comes from science, not looking at that it's actually a commercial agreement. So I totally appreciate out there is quite busy with misinformation, and people are profiteering from that. So it is hard, and it does take a level commitment that I know you and I have to maintain the truth, whatever the truth may be.
Yeah, for sure. Can you think of a time where you were fortunate enough to react and respond the way that you wanted to, and that you were able to get through it in the moment, as far as a discouraging attitude or approach towards whatever it is that you were feeling or expressing at the time?
When I go into areas a bit more in the zone, I think when I'm open and express that vulnerability, that's sometimes when it hurts more. But yeah, in races, when I've had other athletes question whether I'm going to be able to finish, or how am I going to guarantee a podium finish, not that we can do that on any diet. In those moments, I was able to say, let's just see what the results do. I think, let's just sort of put everything to the side, because what you're suggesting is opinion. And let's look at the data. Here's my blood tests. Here's my race reports. Here's my medals, or whatever you want to judge. And let's compare like for like. In those moments, that was when I was able to sort of cut through it. But it is a shame. It is a shame that we still need to have these conversations.
Yeah, for sure. So this is an example of someone that was coaching you. Is that right?
There was actually another athlete questioning how I was going to finish this Ironman race at the beginning, which again could be seen as a mind game. And yeah, I did have my tools in the bag already, saying the doctors have said I'm in optimal health. My numbers are great. I have no injuries. I've slept well for the last 2 months. Let's just see what happens at the end of the day. And obviously I beat her, which is great. Bonus, a little bonus.
I don't want to sit here and shame her. I also can't help but to, enjoy, like, be still my competitive heart. At the end of the day, there's always someone that is going to edge out, even though that's obviously not like the only thing you're going after in sport.
Yeah. Yeah. For me, it's always been a competition against myself. So I've always wanted to be my best. And in order to do that, I had to aim to be number one. So if on that day she had beaten me, but I got a PB, I would have been happy with that as well. It was just because of the sort of negative attitude, it was just an added bonus that I was able to wait for her at the end to congratulate her for her good effort too.
For sure. What about family? Have you experienced any adversity there as far as discouraging words, sentiment, what you should or shouldn't do, how they're feeling about what you're doing?
Yeah, it's really tough. I'm the only plant-based family member. I think I have a distant cousin who may be vegetarian, but I don't see. My brother is actually paleo, so he is anti-vegan for many reasons of his own. And in honesty, I've had to distance myself from that energy and from the passive aggressivity that's attached to it. Unfortunately, by me saying no to certain food types, they feel it's me judging them, where in fact I'm just choosing my path. And I'm here lovingly supporting anyone on their journey, because I know that it's a learning curve. It's an unlearning curve as much as anything as well. So it has been a struggle with my family. My parents have embraced it. So whenever I'm around them, it's 100% vegan all the time. Yet I do know that they don't follow that when I'm not around. So they don't drink milk anymore, which is quite curious. So that's an amazing result. But overall, it's been a tough 5 years. It was much easier when I lived in Australia because I didn't have to see them. But now I see them more regularly. It's been very tough. But they've accepted it and they're now embracing it when I'm around, which is a huge bonus.
Hey listeners, we have something really exciting to share with you. For the first time ever, VeganProteins will be running a 16-week muscle building challenge. It starts on May 1st and there will be so much to learn. Expect to get the absolute best out of us and get some really solid results. If you've ever wanted to work with us, now is the time. Don't hesitate, because we only run group challenges a couple of times a year, and this one is special. You'll have a chance at being crowned the first winner ever of our muscle building challenge, which means you'll also get a shot at winning 3 months of one-on-one coaching. If you utilize this properly, it can be absolutely game-changing and change your life. Gain lean muscle once and for all. Learn how to balance your nutrition with your goals. Learn how to maintain results long-term. Regain your energy and your confidence. You'll get 16 weeks of strength workouts, custom calculated macros up to 5 times, personalized check-ins 4 times, 16 live group coaching calls, nearly 90 educational lessons, our high-protein vegan recipes and tools, and access to the coolest community ever. All of this for a special first-time challenge price of $5.97. You don't want to miss out on this special one-time offer. The link is in the show notes to sign up and join us. We'll get you welcomed into our private community right away, so you'll have plenty of time to prepare for the challenge. Looking forward to getting you the best results possible and supporting your muscle building journey.
So your family's in Australia. Your world record breaking efforts were birthed in Australia, correct?
My family are all Welsh, so we're from the UK. But I lived in Australia, so my world records were in Britain, but I competed for Australia in triathlon. I'm a bit of a nomadic 𝐾𝐨, so a woman of the world.
Okay. Well, what was the main inspiration for you getting started with triathlons and whatnot?
For me, I was with a guy for 9 years. We were set to be married. It was quite a toxic relationship that I felt I couldn't leave. But he actually left me 6 days before our wedding. And this was back in 2012. And my life just freefalled. On one level, I was elated that I was no longer under this sort of physical and emotional abuse and coercive relationship. But on the other side, I was believing what he was saying about my worthlessness, about me not being able to survive without him, of being a nothing and a nobody. And so after a few months of wallowing in quite a few bottles of wine, I knew I needed something to put me on my list, because the work, the business, the mortgage, the dogs, everything was above me on the list beforehand. And sport was a great way for me to be selfish. It was only for me. It wasn't to benefit anyone else but my own health, and also give me a bit more confidence in my life to see what I could actually achieve. Even my first run, I could barely finish a mile, but I felt alive. You know, I'd actually taken 10 minutes out of my day, and I'd done something exclusively for me. So for me, triathlon was my outlet of rediscovering myself and building back that confidence. And the reason I chose triathlon is when I'd met him 9 years prior, I wanted to do a triathlon, an Ironman triathlon, but he talked me out of it. And so that 9-year gap of letting someone else choose my dreams, choose my potential, choose my path, came back and said, you need to do this. So that's why I chose Ironman, because of its extreme distance, because of its extreme commitment as well. I didn't have any space to wallow in the what if, to wallow in the bitterness as well I was feeling towards him. I had to snap out of it, let the past go, and be in the now and really commit to myself, my mental, physical, and emotional health, and just see how far I could go.
Cool. And the results speak for themselves, and you owe no one anything in terms of owning the emotionality of that in the past and narrative. And I appreciate your vulnerability, because you don't have to retell that story and that past of yours. And yet you do it courageously, because it shows others what they're capable of, no matter what they've gone through. Right. And obviously that's not the main reason. It's because you're an athlete, an elite competitive athlete, and you're just doing really beautiful things out there. Which, speaking of, can you tell me more about this upcoming 3,000-mile trek that you're embarking on?
Yeah. So yeah, it's this beautiful evolution of potentially my mindset, but also what I hope I see the world as well. I used to compete against others in triathlon. Then I competed against myself in world records. And now I'm using sport as a collaboration, because we can't in our lives keep judging, making something right, wrong, having that leaderboard. It is about us all crossing the line together. And so I think it's a beautiful representation of what the world needs more of. So I've got a handmade bike out of bamboo, and I'm going to be cycling 3 months around mainland Britain, which is England, Scotland, and Wales, covering 3,000 miles. And during that, I'm visiting at least 30 sustainability projects. So that's from vertical farming, stock-free, I despise that word, animal-free farming as well, rewilding seagrass beds, composting soil. We've got some bike groups as well that are joining me. I'm going to be wild foraging. So it's absolutely amazing. And the reason I'm doing this climate cycle is to give me back hope. There's a lot of news out there, and similarly to what you shared, you know, doing the right thing, being vegan, doing our bit for the environment, it sometimes feels like I'm not the only one doing it. Like, I look around and go, what is the point? You know, is me recycling this bit, or me not eating this, really making a bigger impact in the world? Because there's so much resistance to embracing it. So this cycle's about giving me back hope, meeting more people who are doing some really cool things, and also hope in humanity. Like, we aren't all the resistors that we meet. We aren't all the negative conversations that we have, or the finger pointing people on the buses or in the restaurants who are telling us we're awkward. There are great people out there who do want to get on board and do more things as well. So for me, it's just giving me back that joy to be a human being and proud of my species, and a little bit more hope in the future that we will live that, you know, green life that we're all aspiring towards.
Yeah, it's super duper inspiring. Can your tour be followed in real time?
Yeah, I'll have a live tracker. I'm releasing my route the end of March, the end of this month. So people can actually join me. It's going to be completely free to come and cycle. If people want to donate, they can. Everyone who cycles and logs it on this app I'm using called Climate Games, I'll plant a tree. So at least 3,000 trees will be planted as well. So we know we're giving back to more regional communities, because that gives them work and repopulates certain areas that are being destroyed. I've recently written to 32,000 schools, inviting pupils to design logos for my bikes, so that they can get involved and get the kids more active in this conversation about eco and green and health, because our mental health is directly linked to nature. If one suffers, the other suffers. So, this separation needs to stop. We are nature. We're not protecting nature. We're protecting ourselves. And it has to be done generationally, which is why I'm sort of infiltrating the schools as early as possible.
So you're going to get to commiserate with children? You're going to see them on your...
The first month, yeah, I'm cycling through school holidays, so not ideal for the kids. But when I come back in September, definitely visit as many schools as possible with my bamboo bike. I've already been visiting schools in my free time, I say loosely, doing assemblies and letting them touch the bike and chat and explore any questions they may have. So it's been really inspiring. And I love the teachers' faces when the kids ask me what I'm going to eat, and they're looking at me. I'm going, well, I'm vegan. Do you know what that is? No, miss. Can you tell me? Why don't you eat meat? Why don't you eat dairy? Well, let me soften this, but this is what happens. It gets them asking more questions, hopefully, that might plant a seed to accelerate the journey that took me far too long, in honesty. Like, I've been vegan 9 years, but gosh, my one regret is I wasn't vegan since the age of conscious awareness. Much earlier, but still la vie. I didn't have a 𝐾 harassing the children in school when I was my age. So
that is very, very exciting too. And as impressionable as kids are, they also have their own discouraging words that they've already experienced while they're trying to understand what the world is like. And they're going to wind up unintentionally and intentionally projecting it on you. I would imagine those are going to be very interesting conversations. And hopefully when you're not only leading by example, hopefully when you're getting into these conversations with them, that they'll be inspired in some way.
Thank you. And I'm learning a lot as well, because exactly what you said, I haven't lived how they lived. I haven't had the influences that they've got. By me hearing why their questions and why they eat what they eat, I'm able to better formulate the next step, the next legacy, a potential workshop or more talks as well in schools to elevate the education. So it's just as important for me to glean knowledge and understand why they're thinking what they're thinking and doing what they're doing, for me to be able to deliver a more effective learning afterwards.
For sure. So you touched upon sports, you touched upon food a little bit, and just generationally speaking, kids, adults, family, friends, maybe in adulthood. You ever experience anything like that where you're not quite sure what to do or what to say?
I'm very blessed that, because I'm quite transient, I do create a tribe that have similar values to me. And it's nearly all of my closest friends are plant-based. The occasional few who aren't, it is a challenge when they're complaining about an ailment that I can see is directly linked to what's in their fridge. Or I'm empathizing in that they're eating the food that is actually creating that disease. Nobody likes unsolicited advice. No one likes a know-it-all, or even if it is to our benefit, because it challenges our ego. So typically I will ask permission and say, are you here? Are you just sharing because you have a frustration? Or are you actually looking for a solution? And if they answer to the latter, that's when I'm saying, will you be open to reading a book or watching this documentary? Or would you be open to exploring how food may be impacting this? So I don't go straight into the don't eat this and you should be eating more vegan. But I ask them, are you open to exploring how your food is impacting your health? And if yes, it may take a little longer, but it's for the long-term change. You know, I'll start where they want to start. Typically, they start refined sugar because it's easier to understand and less threatening than meat or dairy. But then, yeah, it's just about supporting a friend as if it's through a breakup, letting them open up the awareness as they go along on their space. But yeah, I do my best to honor wherever they are on their journey, because I know I ignored people who told me years before as well. So who am I to judge? Because I'm sure there's quite a bit in my life that I'm still doing that's quite toxic for myself. I'm just not yet ready to heal it for whatever reason.
Yeah, I remember I was at the dinner table yesterday with my niece, nephew, and family, and I was like, well, I guess that's it. You know, I was feeling some type of way, and it was like, well, I guess there's nothing else that needs to be said or nothing else you need to know. And it's never true, right? You have like these moments where you can just breathe, and then other times you're doing the work, and you don't have to do the work all the time, right? Especially like when you feel like you want to impact others and you're not sure what to say or how to react when they're projecting anything onto you, whether you ask for the conversation or not. I feel like that's where it's really challenging for me personally. You don't know if you've asked for the conversation or if the conversation is coming for you, right? And then you kind of like caught in that in-between space.
Yeah, like completely. Like, yeah. One thing I'm learning, and this is definitely on the, like, when somebody says something that I know is factually incorrect around why they're eating fish or why they're eating their meat or whatever, I'm trying to switch my knowing to curiosity. Oh, really? Where did you hear that from? I'm really curious because I haven't heard the same. So that one element opens the conversation rather than shuts down and I'm telling you what to do and you're wrong. And as I say, I'm very early stages on that journey.
For sure.
And it's fun. Yeah, it's fun because I'm single and somebody invited me out for a meal and I'm going, do I come out? Do I need to say, by the way, I'm vegan? Like, is that a first date conversation, or are they going to like judge me for thinking that I'm judging them? It's a really, delicate space that opens up quite a lot of potentially deep conversations about why we know why we're doing it. But I'm sure our meat eater neighbours might not welcome me sharing that information, especially on the first time we're meeting. So yeah, it's a very complicated space that I'm learning to navigate with a lot of mistakes.
Well, I do feel like the world is better because of people like you and with you in it. So much appreciation for everything that you do. And I noticed on your website that there are several different ways to reach you and lots of other things that you're doing. Like you have a podcast, correct?
I do. It's on slight pause purely because of this cycle being on the road. But yeah, I've got a podcast that will be picked back up early, the end of this year.
Past episodes to look at?
Yes. Yeah, we've got Dr. Gemma Newman. We've got loads of amazingly inspirational plant-based athletes as well. Somebody who did 70 half Ironman on a vegan diet, world record there. Incredible people.
Nice. And your newsletter to stay in touch on 𝐾𝐨𝐧'𝐭.global.
Yep. Thank you so much. That's right. And
you coach, you speak, and you do consultation.
I do. Yeah. And thank you. And I believe we may potentially meet at the end of this year as well in person.
We are gunning for it. It's about time that we left the United States with our work and left this area, because we do some work in the Caribbean too. But one day soon, I really do hope that you see us at the London Veg Fest. We're looking to do that, and hopefully we get to meet in person. In the meanwhile, you've shared an awful lot about yourself and your purpose and how you feel about the community here and how we navigate these difficult and discouraging times when we're communicating with others and we want to see we're out of our bubble, right? And we're challenged. So truly appreciate your perspective in this conversation. Thank you so much, Kate.
Thank you so much. It's been my pleasure.
All right, everybody, thank you so much for tuning in to another episode of Vegan Proteins Muscles by Brussels Radio. If you've been enjoying this podcast, it would mean the world to us if you left us a review on whatever platform you're listening to it on. It really helps get the show out there. If there's anything that you would like to hear from us, come to VeganProteins.com, click the contact button, ask us to cover a specific topic, or if you have a question you want answered in the Q&A, shoot it to us there. You can also join our free Facebook group, Muscles by Brussels Radio, where we have challenges and questions and an awesome community. And you can always find us on all the social media platforms as well, at Vegan Proteins, at Muscles by Brussels, and at I'm Just Athena. Anyway, thanks so much for tuning in. My name is Danny.
And I'm 𝐬𝐿𝐫.
And we'll talk to you later.